You're listening to Current Conversations, powered by Master Electricians Australia.
Guys, trip the breaker.
Welcome to Current Conversations, powered by MEA. You're with myself, Kate Raymond, the CEO of Master Electricians Australia.
And Matt Duncan, the Technical Support Manager for MEA as well.
And our special guest today for this episode is...
Yeah, my name's Matt Camero. I'm the Operations Manager for an EV charging company called Charge Hub Australia.
Welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us today. All right, Matt, over to you. Matt number one, over to you.
Matt one, Matt two. It's something we've had to deal with in the past. Matt and I have worked together on a number of occasions, and it's definitely a challenge we've worked through. But we are talking about EV chargers today, a topic that's very popular. EV cars are becoming more and more of a popular choice on the roads, and people are choosing to charge at home, charge in their workplace, and there's lots of options out there that they can do. But I think we'll start with a really big topic. The buzzword at the moment, vehicle to grid, can also be known as vehicle to home, in a smaller case, vehicle to load. But the vehicle to grid's got a lot of buzzwords at the moment. What is it? Let's talk about it.
Can you see my eyes rolling?
Not for the people listening, no.
Personally, I think there needs to be a use case before vehicle to grid becomes a reality. I think there's a lot of background work that needs to happen with the retailers for tariffs and things like that. Like there are some things out there now for homeowners that have batteries at home, and maybe that type of thing could extend to a vehicle to grid type scenario. But, it's not there yet. It's not close. And then there's the products too. Like there's no product available.
All right. So let me take this up a bit. So vehicle to grid, we're talking about using your EV, using the battery in your EV to actually push power back, electricity back into the grid. So in the same way that we've got solar panel, a lot of people have got solar panels, and in the middle of the day when they're generating excess power, they're actually pushing that back into the grid if they've got the right meter to do that. So the concept is doing that, but with your EV car battery. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Gives you, I suppose, some flexibility to load shift and limit your demand and usage from the grid, particularly if you've got some dynamic tariff pricing. That's really not there yet. Like you've got retailers, I'll name names, like Amber Electric, which I use personally myself at home because I've got a battery energy storage system. And, in the days gone by where you had good imports from solar, wasn't really an issue, but now the spot pricing goes negative during the day. So you've actually got to pay to export. So if you've got a battery and you can load shift to a time where it's good to export, it makes sense. But then if you're using your car battery to do that, like when are you charging your car? What's it cost to charge your car? And then is that supporting your use at home? And the timings around that, I don't see the use case.
Yeah, because it's not like you're getting the car battery. It's not being powered for free. Necessarily.
That depends on that spot pricing that you mentioned. If there is negative spot pricing, you can actually be paid to charge up your car battery and then perhaps sell it at an extremely high price at the 6 o'clock time. But again, only useful if you're actually home with your car at that point, not driving around as you tend to do in a car.
Yeah. Or if you're powering it from your solar panels as well. You might be able to export at a peak time, potentially. But what about vehicle to home then?
Oh, for an emergency, sure. You just use it like a generator and have a generator changeover switch in your home. I'm sure that could work. But,
I'll jump in there. I've seen some use cases with the vehicle to home, and it's probably they've had to get the vehicle to grid as it comes out as a function of, in the end, just getting vehicle to home. But there are some good retailer plans out there that allow them to charge for very low or even free at a number of times of the day. And sometimes that can be overnight. And potentially that's enough to to fill up or top up the battery in your car again for you just to cover off, say, your peak cooking times and take that edge out of your pricing for a little bit. And we're talking car batteries in the 60 kilowatt hour range versus the average home battery of probably 10 kilowatt hours. There's a fair bit of space there, but it could be on how much driving you're doing as well.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. Like, is your car going to be at home when you want to charge it at the cheap rate? And then, it's all, of course, going to be there, but how much charge does it have when you want to,
go somewhere,
cook and not draw from the grid, but then you want to leave home in your car and it might not have enough charge to do what you need to do. So there's lots of rules that you're going to need to be able to set up to still allow you to live your life without that impost or I suppose, or lack of flexibility.
What about the chargers themselves? So the box on the wall that I'm using to charge my car, is that going to be a special type of box on the wall? Yeah.
So they exist in other countries. There's the standards only just been finalised here in Australia.
Yeah, the last couple of months it's been approved. Yeah,
so there has been trials in Australia with a wall box quasar. I'm not privy to how those went, but
as I understand it, there's probably 2 manufacturers that have a product going through the approvals process at the moment. So we might see a product hitting the shelves in the next couple of months to 6 months' time, if not a little bit sooner, potentially. But I think we're still back to that use case and having retailers with plans that will be easily set up, and along with the network service providers as well, allowing more exports out of battery systems, as they don't like a lot of exports out of batteries at the moment, happening before it really takes off. Yeah. Plus the cars. There's not many cars currently certified for vehicle-to-grid use.
Yeah, in most cases, the car OEMs, it's just a matter of software updates. They've been pre-provisioning for that for some time. But like, let's say you had a really awesome employer that allowed you to charge for free during the day, and then you took your car home and powered your house at night. Maybe
if they had it on solar power through the day.
Maybe that would work, you know.
Now, talking about just charging in general then, we're seeing a lot more people buying these EVs, and there's a lot of home ownership going along with apartments at the moment. And we've started to face some challenges in the industry of having enough supply there to power multiple EV chargers at the same time. I know the National Construction Code has been updated to account for that into the future, that new builds will allow for 100% of car spaces to have EV charging in them. But for existing buildings, that's a struggle to get large power supply upgrades into the buildings. What sort of options are there out there for users in terms of charging or management of charging systems to control in that sort of situation?
Look, it's from my side of things, we call that dynamic load management. We have a product that basically tackles those challenges. We do load studies for buildings like that. 99% of the time, you will find that a building will not need a supply upgrade provided you install load management, because the nature of dynamic loading in a building is such that overnight you tend to only have about 5 to 10% of your total capacity in use. And the number of load studies we've done on buildings throughout, cities in Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, like it's very clear that there's capacity to take up that unused capacity overnight and then allow that for resident charging. Just requires a little bit of infrastructure installation, really.
Sure. Does that actually is that going to be something that, each apartment owner is going to install themselves, or is it going to be more reliant on, say, the body corporate to install a corporate system, a controlled system for everyone?
Exactly that. So you're talking about what we would call building pre-provisioning, which would happen at a body corporate cost. And then you've got the last mile, charger installation from the pre-provisioned EV switchboards. to the car space of the unit owner, and then they've got that charger available for their exclusive use.
So these are the changes that recently came in. So NCC 2022 required the wiring to be there, not necessarily the chargers themselves, or did not require the chargers themselves. It required the ability to have the chargers. So for new buildings being built now, does that mean that anyone can get a Sparky along to put an EV charger on their car space? Theoretically.
Look, I think that's the intention in theory. However, there's a little bit more that needs to be understood around that, because not every EV charger is the same.
Yeah.
It'd be very difficult in an apartment building to manage the load if you didn't put in an EV charger that was capable of being managed by a back-end system. And we can take a big dive down the rabbit hole, but there's a lot of chargers out there that are basically what I would refer to as dumb chargers. And if you plug them into your car, they will just give it full whack that it's capable of, and they can't ramp up and down. They're not capable of back-end billing. You can't load manage them down. So this is the value add that, our business provides, because we can manage, do a installation in a apartment building with load management software, with a list of chargers that we've pre-qualified that are capable. So the apartment holder gets a choice. They're not locked into one particular thing, because sometimes if you go down the road of a particular load management system, you can only have the charger that matches the load management system. Okay. So when you're talking to an apartment holder and you say, no, you can have an EV charger, but it has to be that one, they tend to drop off the radar, and the conversation doesn't continue, and then you have issues with the body corporate.
Consumers like choice, don't they?
Absolutely.
So is that normally a charger that has that open charge point protocol system, the OCCP, I think it is, if I recall correctly, for another acronym?
We were talking about acronyms before we started, but there's so many in this industry, it blows my mind. But yeah, open charge point protocol, so OCPP.
Yeah.
And a lot of chargers claim to be OCPP compliant. They don't all speak the language. So, which is why we pre-qualify the EV charger before we say that it'll work with our load management software.
So what will happen if there is a unit complex where the body corporate wasn't aware perhaps of these complex issues, and a couple of dozen residents installed EV chargers without load management? Is that going to create problems for everyone in the building potentially at peak times?
Potentially could, yes, potentially. So you've got the potential to overcook the supply capacity of the building, and then the power goes off, things go dark, and we're in trouble.
Obviously, with a body corporate managed system, they don't want to cover all the costs of the electricity usage ongoing. I don't know, quite a number of systems have that option there for multi-user billing. I assume the same is for in a retail space as well. You might have a commercial building that they want to put it in for and have a number of tenants in there. I know you guys operate a system that does sort of user billing. What sort of options are there for people in that space?
Oh, look, the options are really endless. Generally, we would like to do a chargeback option. So obviously, there's usage from the body corporate power supply. We collect the revenue and reimburse back to the body corporate less a merchant fee.
Sure.
So all of that visibility is available through our charge station management software. So you can see who's using what charger, how many kilowatts, how long. It's really important with the EV chargers to track utilization rates. Once you can have visibility of utilization rates of charges, then you've got the ability to make informed choices about installing more charges and all this
location and the like. There's one more popular than the other. Yeah,
absolutely. So there's a lot of work we've done with local councils, and they like to see these reports of utilisation rates and that type of thing, so that you can actually make some decisions about where the next charger might be installed, or more chargers might want to be installed in this location. Things like that.
So this is something that really all building owners with so commercial premises, multiple residential, this is something for them all to consider really around installing perhaps some common charges and having a user pays approach.
Yeah, common charges, or in my opinion, the best case scenario is you just have a charger able to be installed in every resident's car park. Where when you start putting chargers in a visitor's car park, then there may be an issue with like a booking system, or one particular resident just leaves that car there all the time. So there's all these issues that need to be dealt with by the body corporate. Things can be put into body corporate bylaws. So for existing buildings, these type of installations are a really long lead time, because there's so many conversations between lots of stakeholders that need to be had before you actually strike a blow and do any actually installation work. And, we've been lucky that we've got quite a few buildings now that we've managed to get across the line, and that offering where you can offer the resident a choice of charger and it's still load managed has been really, really good for us.
How does the user get into that system, or how do they pay for the usage when it is a common or shared system?
Oh, look, it's just a matter of setting up a driver account in an app. We have an app. You can map an RFID card to your account, so you're not always getting out your phone to initiate the charge. We call that a method of authentication, so you know who is using the charger and that they're properly authenticated. You could have a physical RFID card or a key tag on your keys for your car, and you just get out of the car, plug it in, tag it on, and away she goes. Right. Job done.
And the operator gets to set their own rates of charge, like I'm assuming both rate of power consumption used by the device, but also how much they want to charge for usage?
Yeah, absolutely. So acronyms again. So us as the CPO, charge point operator, would come to an agreement with the charge station owner, the CSO, and we use our CSMS, charge station management software, to manage all that. We give the charge station owner access to the software, so they can set rates and for what the user would pay per kilowatt and all that type of thing.
And that could be varied between different users and use cases as well. You might have some company pool cars that are on a fixed rate or a zero rate, and then additional tenants that might be on their own set rate to pay for their power too.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's like the options are endless, really.
One that came across my desk a little while ago was how businesses who operate their own fleet and have decided to go for EV, but people take their cars home and then are required to maybe do some charging at home, and how they can track that usage. I believe in a conversation we've had previously, there's some reasonably good setups there that even if they've got their own private EV, that again, they could have multiple tags on the site, and one can just be keeping a record of, so they can be reimbursed for corporate charging at home.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Or you just have the charger at home added as another charger in the software for that organisation. You would just track and reimburse the cost of the electricity back to the employee.
Sure.
So it's all very easy. Obviously, it needs that OCPP connection, so it can talk to the back end software. But that's very easily doable.
Can you talk to me about the different types of charges? The fast charge, the one that you're likely to have in your home.
Yeah, look, if we start at the beginning, our supply network is AC. We've got a car that's got a DC battery in it. So some type of rectification needs to happen from AC to DC. So you've got two types of chargers. You've got one that delivers AC, in which case the rectification happens in a charger in the car. And then you've got others where chargers where there'll be a DC connection. So there's no rectification that needs to happen. So you're not limited by the size of that charger in the car. You're limited a bit by what the battery management system in the car can take from the DC charger and the size of the DC charger. So you're getting into the realms with some of the more luxury brand cars that can take 250, 280 kilowatt from a charger if it's capable of delivering it. So like the Porsche Taycan, I think it's got a 800 volt battery architecture, and it's like just takes a huge whack.
So it makes charging time really fast for those bigger DC chargers.
Absolutely.
And what about those small ones? I hear some people call them granny chargers, but usually the ones supplied with the car itself when you first pick it up.
The one you can just plug into
the wall socket. Yeah.
2 kilowatts an hour. Look, and depending how much you drive, that's not a problem. You just have it sitting there and you plug your car in every night and set some schedule. If you don't go far, that might be enough for some people, but it really depends on the use case of every user, like what they want and how they want to use it.
All right, I'm going to head to our question now, our fact or fiction. Okay, you ready? You're ready. All right, so fact or fiction. Using a fast charge, the DC charger regularly will damage my car battery.
Look, in the car has a battery management system.
Yeah.
Okay, so the battery management system in the car is going to be set up so the car doesn't damage itself. So the car's going to take DC at a rate that it can handle. However, that being said, it is pretty much common knowledge if you are fast charging, generally you'll set the limit in your car that it won't charge above 80% or 90%. And there's guidance in every car manufacturer's handbook about what that limit should be. My partner, she's got a Polestar 2 and I'm pretty sure it says 80%. But then, you might trickle charge up to 100%.
So it slows the rate of charge after that point.
So you might do the, slow granny charge or whatever while you're at home or, but while you're traveling, there's a lot of range between 20 and 80% in your battery. Like you're going to be in the realms of 300 kilometers. So
fiction. We're going to call it fiction.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing fiction.
It's not going to blow up if you leave off the fast charger.
There's so many facts or fictions with EVs, and I've probably heard them all, and a lot of them come through in tender documents, or they're questions from body corporates, or from a fire engineer. They're usually my favourite ones, but the most of these things have really been debunked in the last few years. Like even the rates of battery electric vehicle fires are in the realms of 20 times less likely than an internal combustion engine. It is just, it's not even on the radar. And if you're charging a car in this car park, it's got to be done over here because there's such a fire risk. It's quite funny that even comes up.
I know there are some proposed upcoming changes for the National Construction Code for domestic dwellings as well, which I think will actually simplify a lot of fast charge, but AC fast charger installations. They propose to put into every garage a charging circuit capable of 32 amps. And the two options there at the start, because you might not know what you're getting, are either a 15 amp power point or directly connected to that charging device. I think we'll see that will improve ease of getting, new homeowners buying an EV and finding out, the cabling's here ready to go, and I can put a charger a bit more capable than my standard 2 kilowatt granny charger in, and charge it up in a significantly shorter period of time. I think on average, my charge time at home is about 6 hours if I'm quite flat at full rate.
Yep.
We should see those improvements there.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Like, I think one thing it's probably important to note is there's lots of differences between cars and EV chargers and what cars and EV chargers are actually capable of. We get lots of calls around your charger is 22 kilowatts, but my car's only charging at 7. And that's not an issue to do with the charger. That's an issue to do with the car, because the car is the limiting factor in that case. There's so many education things that need to happen, and so that people understand, like, it's not as second nature as going to fill up your car with petrol at the service station. Like, we haven't grown up with this type of technology. But once everyone starts to cross that line and use it, then everyone realizes, oh, hey, this isn't so bad. I went to Sydney on Wednesday and I stopped to get a hire car on leaving the airport, and the queue in front of me, it was crazy. Everyone was being offered an EV, and everyone in front of me, at least 10 people, declined.
Wow, really?
I was shocked.
Wow. Do you think that's range anxiety largely?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, I've got so much driving to do. I was like, I had to bite my tongue. Some of the anxiety questions that were thrown up.
Because I actually did. So I got my EV recently-ish in the last couple of months, and I love it. And I did my first sort of big-ish trip, so Brisbane to Hervey Bay. I charged when I was there. I spent maybe 20, 25 minutes on a fast charge to get it to where I needed to get to drive home. It was so easy. It was a shopping centre, so I got to park without a hassle because you get to park where the chargers are. You can easily spend, 20 to 30 minutes in a shopping centre doing a few things, pull out the laptop, whatever you need to do. It really isn't a hassle. It was interesting because I did have a little bit of anxiety, like a little bit of.
I think everyone does until they either drive one or in the end own one, until that goes away. My wife was the same with our EV purchase, very much up until the day we got it. I'm not sure am I going to be able to get everywhere. And then, the first trip we took to Noosa and came back and had driven around for another day or so after. We still got 20% left. Oh, there is plenty there. And it's just about balancing it. Yeah, having that plan. Most EVs have a a map system in it that will show them where chargers are, and even allow you to plan out your route to include chargers along your journey and how long you need to stop for.
Mine, takes me off into it actually directed me off the highway because I was down to about 30% or something. I was like, you should probably charge. I was almost home. So I was like, no, EV, I'm fine.
You got to give your car a better name. Like everyone needs to name their car.
Well, we did, but we actually went with EV because my son's really into Pokemon, and there's an EV Pokemon, and the last set of supermarket giveaways had some cardboard cutout Pokemon, so we've got a little EV cardboard cutout, and it sits on the dashboard there, and that's our mascot.
All right. So I think, are we coming to the end of our podcast? I think we are. So wrapping up, what have we learnt today?
Cars aren't going to blow up if you put them on a fast charger. That's very important.
And the battery is unlikely to be damaged by using fast chargers.
Yeah. I think we've learned
properly. Yep.
A good amount around what to do in a multi-user case where we've got multiple tenants in a building and some options that are out there for them. I think that's really important information for them to take away.
Yeah. And anyone who doesn't know Pokemon has learned there's a Pokemon called Eevee. So I think that's a good takeaway as well.
Yeah, these things are pretty smart that are coming out these days. And when you got a software-driven piece of kit, like the number of options you can get out of it, it's pretty impressive.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to all the listeners for joining us again today. We've had a great time talking to you, Matt. Thanks for coming along.
Thanks, Matt 1. Thanks, Matt 2.
And as always, if you've got any questions about your electrical installations, specifically EV chargers, you can call us at Master Electricians and talk to the great technical line there. And if you've got questions about a charge point operator, you can call Matt at Charge Up Solutions.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Thanks for listening. To find out more about who we are, how we help the industry, and how we can help you, head to our website or give us a call. Stay current with current conversations.